What's going on, everyone, and welcome back to Not So Pro Football Talk. We are your Not So Pro fantasy experts. My name's AJ. This is Vince. Today, we're talking about tight ends to help you get the edge in your fantasy league. I tried to do that whole Detroit Urban Survivor deal. I didn't like it. I wasn't feeling it. But thank you guys so much for being here. Sorry I couldn't make it yesterday, our live podcast. Vince and Reed held it down for us. They did an awesome job. They're talking about, Zach Wilson and him being a predator. We're talking about it was fun. Tight ends, wide receivers. I'm glad you stuck up for Deebo Samuel there, Vincent. I appreciate it. I do agree with you. I feel like him and DK should have been there. But today we're talking fantasy football. We are talking tight ends, which arguably could be the most important position on your fantasy team. Tight ends make the world of a difference. You're not going to be mad if a tight end scores 8 points, but you will be extremely happy that you drafted well if your tight end scoring over 10 points every single week. And that's why we are here to help you out so you don't draft too early or you don't draft too late. Today, we are ranking our top 5 tight ends. We're going to start from number 1 and go to number 5. I know a lot of people start from 5 all in 1, but everyone knows who 1 is. So, number 1, we got Travis Kelce. And the reason why Travis Kelce is number 1, not only has he had, was it back to back 6 seasons?
6 seasons where he's had over 1,000 yards, and 5 of the past 6 where he's been the number 1 tight end in fantasy.
See, that's unheard of. Unlike real life, Travis Kelce is number 1 in fantasy football. George Kittle is number 1 when it comes to the NFL. Okay, you hear that, Matt? George Kittle should have been there because you're ranking them as tight end. You're ranking them as wide receivers, not tight ends. A lot more to that position. But this is why this tight end is going number 1 overall, because he is not a tight end. He is a wide receiver. He is a guy that's going to get the most receptions, play as your wide receiver 1. And in the tight end slot, there's no other tight end in the league as of right now that is anywhere close to that. There might be one guy, which we'll talk to him about next. But as of right now, he is wide receiver 1 on many, many leagues. Draft him. This is where it gets tricky because everyone knows he's a tight end 1. But where do you draft Travis Kelce?
So what I've seen in like some regular leagues that I just jump in, sometimes he goes as early as round 2, man. And I don't know how serious that is, but this guy's a wide receiver, just like you stated earlier, AJ. He's not a typical tight end. The offense is going to run through him now that Tyreek Hill is gone. So I would say if you are maybe at the back end of the draft pool, so maybe you have like pick 10, pick 9, and you're waiting and waiting and waiting until you can get a pick. I would go as early as round 3, in my opinion, if he's still on your board. But I mean, realistically, he should be going in round 4 because he is a tight end. But the production that he has there is just insane. So he is like,
realistically,
yeah.
That's realistic. That's for people who play fantasy football, right? But a lot of people, I know in the past 3 years of me playing fantasy football, some guy has always taken Travis Kelce in round 1. I think that is insane. I think that is absurd. I would never do that. Me personally, given today's fantasy draft skills, I would draft Travis Kelce in one of the last picks of round 2. And I think that's way too early. I'm with you. I feel like tight ends should be drafted around round 4, but it's not the day that we live in now. So if you have Travis Kelce, or if you're thinking about Travis Kelce, I would not draft him round 1. That's just not me. You could get way better talent.
Yeah.
Right. Let someone else do that. You pick up an awesome running back or an awesome wide receiver. Go check out our running back videos. We talked about a lot of those and a lot of good pickups. So going into number 2, Vince and I both agreed on here. We're talking about Mark Andrews. Now, this guy saw an amazing production last year with the Baltimore Ravens. He went through a carousel of quarterbacks. It was a very unique season for this tight end. Normally, like let's say the year before, right? The Ravens would average 400 passes that season. They averaged 400 passes. This past season, they had over 600 passes. And the reason for that is because J.K. Dobbins went down. Gus Edwards went down. They were gone for the whole season. They had no running backs. So they're forced to air out the ball more than they wanted to. And who did they have? They had Mark Andrews, they had Hollywood Brown, they had Rashad Bateman, and now Hollywood Brown is gone, leaving Rashad Bateman and Mark Andrews to carry the whole scoop there. Lamar Jackson should be coming back healthy. J.K. Dobbins will be ready week 1. Mark my words. Gus Edwards will be there next season. Does this drop the production of Mark Andrews?
So just like you said, they could not run at all last year because they were just feeding off of Mr. I think they added Freeman for a while. He did some work. I mean, they were adding whatever they could at that time. But now that they have J.K. Dobbins and the whole crew back together, besides Hollywood Brown, I think they're going to be running the ball a lot more. Don't get that wrong, because they can go ahead and now do the option with Lamar Jackson, where he can just pull and take off the other way with another guard or tackle pulling that way. They just have so many options they can do now that they can run their offense with the stars that they've drafted over the years. But Mark Andrews is still going to be a 1,000-yard guy in this next season, especially now that they have 16 games to play. He has that extra game to go ahead and top there. This past year, I know there were some games where he wasn't as flashy because the Ravens weren't as flashy. But I think this year he's going to do a lot better. He had 1,360 yards and 9 touchdowns this past season, even with some of the struggles that they had. So I don't see this being a year where he decreases on that. He might just match it, maybe a few more touchdowns, maybe a few more yards and catches here and there. So if you're in a PPR league, this guy is the guy to have. I mean, he's fighting right there for the number 1 position between him and Bateman, whoever is going to take the load. But he's basically a number 1 option again, just like Travis Kelce is on Kansas City Chiefs.
You hit the nail right on the head, man. What's up, Nestor? Thank you so much for being here live. Appreciate you, man. But yeah, they're not going to be seeing that production of 600 passes this season. They are going to go back to 400, I predict, because they will have healthy running backs, hopefully. But I will like to see, and I think we will see the same production with Mark Andrews now that they lost Hollywood Brown. Rashad Bateman, I preach about him all the time. Excuse me. I preach about him all the time, but Mark Andrews has proved that he could be that solid guy to get you out of sticky situations, and he will continue to do that for the Baltimore Ravens this upcoming season, especially with that division up in the open just for the grabs. So Mark Andrews would be tight end number 2 overall. I would draft him 3rd round.
Yeah.
3rd round.
Usually once Travis Kelce goes, everybody's like, oh no. Everybody starts panicking, and they already know Mark Andrews, whoever else is that we're going to list here is going to go pretty quickly.
Right. But he is number 2. So if you can't sneak him by 3rd round, the 4th round, totally do it. If you want to take that risk, I know I would. I usually do, because every single year there's this up and coming tight end that just comes and surprises everyone. Or you have that tight end that's always been solid and gets traded to a different team. For instance, last year, Zach Ertz. I've always liked Zach Ertz. Then he got traded to the Cardinals. I picked him up immediately. Immediate success to my team. Stuff always happens in the NFL. Nothing's set in stone. Okay, especially if one of these guys get injured. We don't wish for any injuries here, but it happens. It's the NFL. Going on to number 3. This is where Vince and I differ. Okay, he has a guy that I love tremendously. So please, everyone, forgive me, Dad. If you're watching this, please forgive me. I already said my prayers. I lit a couple of candles. I'm terribly sorry. But number 3, I'll let you start off here, Vince. Go right ahead.
It's Mr. George Kittle, man. Respect is where respect is earned. This guy is the number 1 tight end, in my opinion, as a full tight end, a full, well-rounded tight end. He blocks tremendously. He has tremendous route running and footwork. He catches the ball. I rarely see him drop a pass unless he gets lit up by someone like Bobby Wagner, but but no, this guy, to me, it was risky putting him here because I don't know how Trey Lance is going to run through that offense, and I don't know how Kyle Shanahan's gonna, try to fit him in and get him going throughout the entire season, because it might be slow during the beginning, but don't get me wrong, I'm already scared for the ending when we have to play y'all again in one of those last few weeks, because I know everything's gonna be running like a well-oiled engine. But yeah, George Kittle is my boom or bust at number 3, just because I don't know how that offense is going to run. They're going to run the ball up and down the field just like they always do, but I don't know how much George Kittle will be a factor in the passing game. So this one is a little tricky, but I mean, stats don't lie, man. He's been a top four tight end in the past 4 years in fantasy. So I don't see why his production would go down. I can only see it going up, especially now with Trey Lance being so mobile back there.
I couldn't agree more. I personally had George Kittle as my tight end number 5. No disrespect there. He is, the greatest tight end in the league right now. But yeah, the thing I like about George Kittle is that for the past, was it 4 or 5 years, he's been averaging at least 9 points a game. Now that is really good. That's some guy that you could rely on. Me, I like consistency. Okay, I'm a huge Niner fan, and with the Kyle Shanahan system, consistency with the ball going towards George Kittle, it's not there. There's no consistency there. That's why I don't like about him. I don't like about that system. For fantasy wise, you can't rely on the running backs. You can't rely on the wide receivers. You can't rely on the tight ends because they spread the ball so much. And now that you're having this young stud Trey Lance come in, we don't know what he's going to produce, right? But I can almost guarantee you this. This is the if factor. Okay, I believe George Kittle will be that crutch to help Trey Lance succeed. In every sticky situation that Trey Lance gets himself into, George Kittle will be there to get him out. I feel like he's going to be the go-to guy to get the team out of trouble when it comes to, you know, third and short, third and long, or in weird situations where they keep stopping the run. George Kittle has always been that guy, and Trey Lance has not developed enough to be that elite quarterback, so we can rely on him. So we need to rely on someone else. Debo Samuel, I don't think so. Okay, this is not Jimmy G. This is Trey Lance, the guy who has an arm. I think it's going to be George Kittle. So if that does play a factor, I could totally see George Kittle being the top 3 fantasy tight end this season.
Yeah, man. Just one last point on him. George Kittle reminds me a lot of Jason Witten. Just like Tony Romo when he was in a sticky situation, Jason Witten. Just like Dak Prescott when he had him when he was late in the later years, Jason Witten right there. Always for third downs, fourth downs, at the end of the game when you needed like someone to go and get those yards to get in field goal range. Always Jason Witten, and that's how I see George Kittle. He's just faster, and in my opinion, I think he's a little better. So
A little stronger too.
yeah.
That guy's a beast.
Yeah, he is,
But
man.
my number 3, since George Kittle wasn't my third, my number 3 is Kyle Pitts. I preached about this rookie last year. I said, hey, draft Kyle Pitts. This guy, he's a top prospect tight end coming in the draft. He's going to a team that needs help. They got Mike Davis for the Panthers, which they lost this season. Mike Davis, they got Cordero Patterson as the second running back. They lost Calvin Ridley. They lost him again this year. They have no one to rely on. They're going to be putting all this pressure on Kyle Pitts. And it proved that Kyle Pitts wasn't a tight end last year. He was a wide receiver 1. It was insane. Almost every time they passed the ball, he was the first option. It doesn't matter if he was, excuse me, double covered, triple covered. They were force feeding him that ball. And I feel like they're going to do the same way this upcoming season, even with Marcus Mariota, because again, they lost Mike Davis. Cordero Patterson, I don't think he's going to have the same year as he did last year. They lost Calvin Ridley again. Yes, they did get a wide receiver, but Cal Pitts is going to be that workhorse for that team. He has the experience now. He has to carry. He has to be a leader. I feel like he's going to be getting a lot of points, especially in those PPR leagues. He's going to get a lot of receptions. Mark my words.
Yeah, man. I disagree a little bit with AJ. Don't get me wrong; he is a factor on that team. It's just how well is that team going to run? You said Calvin Ridley's out because of his little gambling uh, scenario that happened earlier in the offseason. Uh, but I mean, I don't know how well Drake London will fit into that offense. I personally didn't like that pick that they made in this past draft. They did draft Mr. Kyle Pitts in the first round last year, like at a higher pick than Drake London at number 4. Yeah, there you go. So I know he's gonna do well. It's just I don't know how that offense is, and that's how I like to look at a fantasy perspective. It's like how often is that offense gonna be on the field, and are they gonna have a lot of 3-and-outs, or are they gonna march down the field? But they have good stars. It's just how is Marcus Mariota and the new coach is there? How are they going to run that offense, and how well is it going to work? That's my only.
And that's a great way to think, Vince. And honestly, that's how you're supposed to think when it comes to fantasy football. The only reason why I have them so high is because of last year. I felt the exact same way last year. I said they don't have anything. They don't have nothing going on for them. Why should I drafted him as my second tight end. I drafted him probably towards the back end of my draft, and he ended up being my tight end one all year long.
Yeah,
That's why I'm kind of surprised. So I'm hoping he gets the same production. I think he will. I think he's going to be that crutch factor when it comes to that team. Going on to number 4, you guys. We're here, number 4. We're coming towards the end of the video, so go ahead and hit that like button, hit that subscribe if you haven't done so already. Take down your notes. Now it's getting a little interesting. So number 4, we got Darren Waller from the Las Vegas Raiders. And I know what you guys are saying. Darren Waller should not be in the top 5 because they got Davante Adams. I get that, right? I preached about Hunter Renfrow all last year. And even before Davante Adams got drafted to the Raiders, I said Hunter Renfrow is going to be that guy. Now everything's changed. Davante Adams got drafted to the Las Vegas Raiders. Darren Waller, before Davante Adams, was wide receiver 2. Now that Davante Adams is there, he's still wide receiver 2. It pushes back Hunter Renfrow to the wide receiver 3 position. I think Darren Waller is going to be getting a lot of the receptions. There's going to be a lot of double coverage on Davante Adams, leaving these two guys open, and I think he's going to use his crutch factor. That's what tight ends are there for. They are that crutch factor. They are there to help you get out of those situations, to get that ball, and to get those receptions after the catch. Darren Waller is going to be that dude. They're going to rely on him a lot, especially in that tough division. They need someone to get him out of those situations, and Darren Waller is going to be that guy. He's going to be wide receiver 2, getting a lot of receptions. PPR league, very high profit.
Oh yeah, man. That's exactly how I see it too. The only reason I had him dropping all the way down to 4 is because I don't know how Derek Carr is going to perform. That's always my thing with the Raiders. You know, they always have great receivers, fast receivers. I mean, they've had Darren Waller there for the past 3-4 years, I believe, and he's just a stud. But it's always upon Derek Carr. How is he going to perform that season? How is the offense going to run? Is there going to be any more drama in the Las Vegas Raiders organization? Because that plays a big factor in how the team plays and how the coach coaches. So they had a lot of switches there this season, but I think now the reason that I have him in my top 5 at all is because, again, Davante Adams is going to be taking some of his receptions away, but he's also going to be getting double coverage. So that means the second option is, of course, him. Because, I mean, Hunter Renfrow is going to be more of an end zone guy, in my opinion, with his little stylus route that he made up. But other than that, I don't see Demarcus Robinson taking into Darren Waller's receptions. And, I mean, Darren Waller's kind of like George Kittle, and he's a good yak tight end, so yards after the catch. But I mean, I see him doing the same amount of production he got last year. I believe it was about maybe 600 yards and then like 9 touchdowns or something like that. But the seasons before that, he had over 1,000 yards. So, I mean, I don't see why his production will go down, especially when that offense is going to stay on the field because of Davante Adams and Hunter Renfrow in that same wide receiver area.
Nice. Nicely said. Let's get down to number 5, our last pick, our tight ends here. I had trouble, okay, because you guys know that George Kittle was my number 5. I was stuck between him and this other guy, which Vince put as number 5, so it works out. We got Dalton Schultz from the Dallas Cowboys. I can hear all the Dallas Cowboys fans right now. They're like, oh my God, yeah, we're the best. We're going all the way. But you know what? You just might. You have I don't want to say an easy schedule, but you have a very favorable schedule. And you have a good team. You lost a lot of pieces. You did. But you have a very strong team. I think you are the most complete team in that division right now because the other teams are still growing, still adding pieces. One is very close, which Vince is very fond of, the Eagles, their offensive line, Hurts, A.J. Brown. But we're talking about Dalton Schultz right here. He saw an amazing production. He did not have great seasons before. Last year, he was averaging 7.7 points per game, which is not too bad. Pretty good for a tight end. He started blowing up at the end, but they lost Amari Cooper. Um, I don't want to get into it, but I saw that they put Amari Cooper ahead of Debo Samuel in the Madden ratings. I, I don't know what they're doing. Anyways, they lost Amari Cooper, which is a huge hit. They lost I forgot his name. Was it
Cedric Wilson.
Cedric Wilson? Yes, and yes, but we re-signed Gallup. Yeah, I get that, but he tore his ACL. He's
Yeah.
going to be gone maybe mid. He's going to be back maybe mid-season. Okay, Dalton Schultz is going to be that guy. He's going to be wide receiver 2. You got CeeDee Lamb. I get it. CeeDee Lamb's the answer. He's this, he's that. He doesn't have a Amari Cooper anymore. He's going to get the double coverage. Who's going to be that wide receiver 2 to take that spot? That's going to be Dalton Schultz. Okay, he's out to prove something this year because he wants a big contract. So what can he do? He could have a breakout tight end year, leaving you having a great fantasy season. Dalton Schultz is going to be that guy. He's going to be really good. I've been saying this a lot this episode, but we are talking about top 5 tight ends. All these guys are going to be the guy to help you win your fantasy games. And Dalton Schultz is going to see a lot of production. I believe there's over 300 receptions that are going to be available to the team without Cedric Wilson, without Amari Cooper. Who are they going to go to? They got to be spread out. They got to be shared. Ezekiel Elliott? No. CeeDee Lamb? No. He's going to see the same amount of production. It has to go to someone who produces and gets those yards, which is Dalton Schultz. Pick him up. Don't pick him up in the 3rd round. Maybe mid 4th, 5th. These guys, after Kittle, after Pitts,
they'll be there.
They'll be there. Okay. And if they're not there, then take advantage and draft those wide receivers and running backs that they didn't. Okay. Yep. Because none of these guys should be going higher than the 3rd round or higher than the 4th, honestly.
No, yeah, man, and I can hear all the Dallas Cowboy fans trying to bash on us right now in the comments whenever they do show up. They're gonna be like, "What about the wide receiver we just drafted, Jalen Tolbert?" And it's like he has not proven himself yet, and he's a wide receiver. I don't see any other fantasy player unless they're a Cowboys fan drafting him before the 10th round. He's a wide receiver that can see production, but he's also a wide receiver that will not be able to catch the ball. And I've never seen his tape on college football or anything like that. But everybody on the NFL Network, everybody on ESPN is like, "Oh, pick this guy up, pick this guy up." And they do this every year. And usually the guy that they talk about does not produce. And it's usually someone else on another team. But right now, the Cowboys are a hot topic, because of how many receivers are out or injured. So just like we're saying right now, we believe it's going to be Dalton Schultz. Who knows? It might be someone else. The Cowboys are very hard to predict because, again, they're always going to go to the Super Bowl every year, and then they don't. But
you didn't have to do that, man.
I'm sorry. I had to, I can already see the writing on the wall. But don't get me wrong, they always have a good chance. They always have a great team. It's just how well is that machine going to be oiled and how well is it going to run? Because in my opinion, Jerry Jones is the reason that there's always kinks, and he's the reason why there's never any more development. And of course, they lost a lot on the defensive side this past offseason. So we'll see how they can restructure there and be a top-notch defense again as well.
But other than that, need is Diggs and Parsons. That's all I need.
Yeah, I mean, I guess so. I mean, they can do that all they want. It's hard to keep all your stars. I understand that, but in Jerry's world, I don't see how it's not possible. But we'll see what happens again. I think Dalton Schultz is a clear number 5, and just like AJ said, he's like they're never going to the Super Bowl until 3000. Wow, sorry guys, you got about 900 more years or so until you go to the Super Bowl.
That's some mad hate right there.
By then it'll be robots as players, bro.
Oh, jeez. Oh,
we'll be long gone.
Yeah, yes, we will. But thank you all so much for watching this video. As again, this is our fantasy talk. We love doing this. Appreciate every single one of y'all being here. Go to check out our TikTok at Not So Pro or NSP Football Talk. That's our at name for TikTok. And guys, what Vince said earlier, it's 100% true. If you guys are taking your fantasy advice from ESPN, from CBS, from NFL Network, don't take it. uh, take it with a grain of salt. I mean, I'm not even promoting our show at this point. I mean, go on YouTube. There's a lot of great people out there who have a lot of great advice, even on TikTok nowadays. Look at that, see what they got to say, compare with other people. It's a lot of fun. Okay, fantasy football is a lot of fun once you get into it. Don't listen to those guys who are getting paid millions. Okay, they,
Yeah, man. They
they're
don't even write their own notes, bro. They just read off a script.
yeah, exactly. All right. Well, thank you all so much for being here. And until next time, you guys, keep on grinding.